Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. We're here on a Monday night. I'm your host, Stephen Downes, being host in a new environment. So hopefully it sounds okay and it's all coming clear. Anyway, on the show tonight, I've got Mr. Lewis Sale, as ever, our non-league correspondent, and Mr. Gareth Walker, our Bradford City correspondent, and quite quickly after his recent showing on the Monday show, Mr. Dave Foy, Mr. Sherman Stats himself, Halifax Town legendary fan. Nice to see you on the show, guys. Obviously, Chris Bell normally hosts the show. He's just having a few technical issues, but he will be coming back, and I'm sure he'll want to take over from me. In fact, you know what? Since I'm host, I'll go top left. That's how this works. So anyway, how are we all doing, chaps? Are we all good?
Yeah, all good.
Superb, thank you. How are you?
Yes, not bad. That was very positive from you all. I think we're all a bit shattered on this Monday, aren't we?
I have been honest and said that I was asleep when this show was arranged about 20 minutes ago. And you can tell I keep doing this to my hair because I've got bed hair.
This is why we love you guys, because you're so prepared. It's been an indifferent sort of weekend for our teams, but we'll get straight into it. I suppose first, Gaz, we'll start with you, Bradford City. Yeah, thoughts obviously on this weekend's game and result for the Bantams.
Proper kicking the balls is how I'd describe it, mate, to be honest with you. Our away form's been dire for not for a long time, but since New Year, really. Performances haven't matched up with home performances. There's been lots of talk about the reasons behind that. Lots of talk about Graham Alexander making too many changes to the team away from home. He was under pressure to keep the same team that had performed well in the previous home game, and he did. And the fans were happy. There was only one change. It was an enforced change. Caden Jackson injured. Ethan Wheatley came in. And the game went much better by all accounts. We were pretty much more the team that we seem at home than we do away. Controlled the game without being totally and utterly dominant, with a better side against Reading. Controlled it, like I say. Not many clear-cut chances at either end, but we were the better team. And when the goal came, I think nobody could really argue that we deserved to be in front. It's a brilliant strike from Matt Pennington from the edge of the box. 2-2 for him, his first 2 goals for City. And Reading didn't offer much at all. Didn't threaten. I don't think they've really tested Sam Walker once. And then we get to the 89th minute. We're winning 1-0. Graham Alexander does what he does quite often when we're one goal to the good in the last few minutes. And he takes a forward off and he brings a defender on to try and see the game out. And suddenly, Reading start pumping balls into the box in the last few minutes, and they score twice in time added on and beat us 2-1. So City fans are obviously got something to whinge about again because, the team selection can't whinge about that. The performance can't whinge about that. So we're going to complain about taking a striker off, bringing a defender on, and then conceding 2 goals, which, fair enough, you shouldn't do that. When you take a striker off and bring a defender on, you shouldn't be conceding twice in time added on.
No, I mean, how did Alexander react to that at the end of the game? Because I imagine he was pretty furious.
He actually said that you could tell he was drawing the positives. He talked about what an improved performance it had been away from home. Talked about what a kick in the balls it was really, and Max Power, captain, came out and did his interview and just reiterated that really that the lads were. They didn't deserve it. They deserved a lot more from the game. It wasn't like any of the other away games recently. We deserved far much more. He didn't say anything about the substitution. It would have been good if he had, but having been initially angry personally that we've gone and done that. I was quick to realise that he does that regularly when you were 1-0 up or 1 goal to the good in time added on. He does it, and it's just backfired on this occasion. He did say that in time added on after we'd made that sub that we weren't getting pressure on the ball at the top end of the pitch, which allowed Reading to come forward and pump balls into the box. But I guess when you're one attacker light and you've got an extra defender on, you're not going to get pressure on the ball at the top end of the pitch. You're bringing that defender on to deal with those balls into the box. And City haven't done it twice, and Reading have had 2 shots on target and scored 2 goals, 91 minutes and 96 minutes.
Yeah. Just as Gaz, you finish that point, we've got our regular Monday host in Mr. Chris Bell. Chris, are you all good?
I think so. You should be here and working in some way.
That might be a no then. Okay,
Yep,
we'll get rid of
just enough time to flash his Lincoln shirt, and then he went.
we'll get rid of Chris again. Lou, obviously, you know you're a watcher of Bradford City. Just tell us a bit about you know it's the most gutting way, isn't it, to lose a fixture in the way that Gaz is describing.
Yeah, it hurts, and it those results, and especially when you've been on top for the majority of the game. I mean, obviously they conceded, like Gaz put together there at 91 minutes. I mean, actually City had a chance after 92, 93 minutes when the free kick came in from Max Power, and that could have easily gone in and snatched a dramatic winner at the end as well, just before they scored the winner. So it's disappointing. You've got to just defend your box. It's as simple as that. And City have not defended the box well enough for that first and the second goal as well, both coming from wide areas. You know, there's opportunities to clear it. But kind of when stuff like that does tend to happen, it's, you know, the panic buttons are pressed a little bit by quite a few players in that situation, because it's just not how the game has normally gone, and you're tense, you're nervous, you don't want to make a mistake, and things probably that you would normally do may not, you know, have obviously gone out the window a little bit. And disappointing because City were, by all accounts, like Gaz said, were on top and dominating the game and probably deserved at least a point out of that. And the worst thing is City have not come out with it just a point. They've lost, you know, 3 points altogether. That's what will hurt probably more than anything.
Yeah. Chris, I don't know if you want to take over the running of the show. There is what sounds like rain on the on your microphone, but we'll go with it.
Really?
I don't know if anybody else can hear it a little bit.
Yeah, it's a bit of interference.
There's a little bit, but not too much.
Not too much.
I'll see what I can do with that one. Right, where are we up to?
We've just spoke to Gaz and Lou about it's the worst way to lose a fixture for Bradford City.
I mean, yes, is the simple answer, isn't it? Have you looked at the table yet from a Bradford perspective?
No.
Well, there we go.
It's going so well tonight.
I mean, you know, in the grand scheme of things, Gaz, whilst it's obviously points dropped, still very much in that playoff mix, even though you're kind of losing ground a little bit on those above.
Yeah, like I say, it's just a kick in the balls. Lou nailed it really, in that you've dominated the game. You deserve to win it, and somehow you've gone from having 3 points in the 89th, 90th minute to having no points after 97 minutes. You've not just conceded 1 to draw, you've conceded 2 and lost the game, and therefore lost all 3 points. It happened to us last season away at Swindon towards the end of the season. We did it there, exactly the same thing, 89 and 90 something, conceded and threw away 3 points. And it does seem to happen to us. I can't remember the last time that happened for us. I honestly can't. I vaguely remember it happening probably about 10 years ago. I think Charlie White scored twice towards the end of a game and we turned it around. But it seems to happen to us rather than for us quite a lot. But yeah, when you look at the table, it was just quite good sitting there looking at the table throughout that game, because Stockport were losing. I think the only other playoff team that were winning were Bolton. So that gap was I think we were 13 points clear of Reading. Literally in the 89th minute of that game, we were 13 points clear of Reading, and now it's down to 7 because of that 2-goal swing. It's literally a 6-point swing based on what happened in time added on. So it is a real kick in the balls, like I keep saying. And the problem is as well, like, it feels really extra harsh because our away form has been really bad since New Year, and the fact that we put in such an improved performance, played like we have done when we've been at home, looked like the Bradford City that we see at Valley Parade, and then we've still somehow contrived to lose the game in that fashion, kind of makes it worse in a way. But we have still got that buffer, like you say, 7 points on Reading. It's just a shame it weren't 13. We've got to pick ourselves up and bounce back like we tend to do, touch wood at home. Our home form's been good. We're at home again on Saturday. We've got to bounce back, and then when we do go away, which is I think is a week tomorrow to Port Vale, we've got to put in the same type of performance that we did at Reading without the catastrophic ending.
Yeah, as you can see with the table, I guess you certainly didn't do Huddersfield any favours, and why would you want to, I suppose, in the grand scheme of things. I mean, look, kind of moving forward to next week, Leyton Orient back at Valley Parade, and an opportunity, as to put things right. And then, as you say, before going to a struggling Port Vale side, although one that, to be fair, seemed to be a little bit more organised and a little bit better under John Brady.
Yeah, they've G'd up a bit, haven't they, under John Brady? I don't think they could be much worse, to be honest, than they were under Darren Moore. We actually played the first game, Port Vale played their first game after sacking Darren Moore. It was against us at Valley Parade, and it was before John Brady went in. They had a temporary in charge, and they didn't half scrap that night. It wasn't long after they'd been battered at Huddersfield, actually. I think that might have been the game that Darren Moore lost his job after. And they played us, and we beat them 1-0, but they didn't half scrap that night. So it'll be a tough place to go. I don't think our record at Port Vale's that good over the last few years. I was there last year towards the end of the season, similar sort of time of year, and we lost 2-0 and missed a penalty. So it's not going to be as easy as it would have been a couple of months ago. The Leyton Orient game on Saturday, I was at the away game at Leyton Orient just before Christmas, and that was another game, not as bad as the Reading one on Saturday, but another game that we dominated for large parts, went 1-0 up and then contrived to lose 2-1. That was more through a huge defensive howler in the second half than anything else. But we had umpteen chances in that first half of that game to be 2-3, even 4 up at half time, and we were only 1-0 up. And then Leyton Orient changed it and came on strong in the second half and beat us 2-1. But I believe that their form is a bit dicey at the moment, so we've got to take advantage of that, put them under the pump at Valley Parade, and come out on top with the crowd behind us, like we have done quite a few teams recently. They will come and play football. That's how Richie Wellens plays, which hopefully will play into our hands.
Yeah, currently in the bottom 4, Leyton Orient, so as you say, not having a great season, obviously a big season of change for them after they were losing so many players last summer as well. Let's kind of turn our attention then to Huddersfield Town, then our other representative from West Yorkshire in League One. And as mentioned, Steve, Bradford did not do you a favour by staving off Reading at the weekend, but the bigger problem, I suppose, is that you didn't do yourself any favours either by losing at Wigan.
We certainly didn't. I think it's one of those fixtures where Town just generally don't show up in. Unfortunately, we hit the post a couple of times, but apart from that, we didn't really look like scoring. He again decided to go with the back three, where I think pretty much 90% of the fan base didn't want him to. But it is what it is. He tried to change the system again in the second half, but this time it didn't come off, and Wigan came away with a valuable 3 points in their opinion, because obviously they're near the bottom. They were in the bottom 4 before the match, and so they've managed to get 3 massive points to help them to safety. Town have missed an opportunity to again try and claw in, the likes of Bradford City that are above us, but we just can't. We can't do that. We can't seem to take effect of getting points on the board against some of these sides like Wigan and possibly like Rotherham coming up.
I mean, besides the kind of obviously the result and the formation that supporters weren't sure of before the game, what was the overall view of the performance at Wigan?
Poor, to be honest. Apart from the couple of moments where we hit the post, and Alfie May didn't really get into the game. He did start Hardy and May up top, which most fans wanted. But Alfie May wasn't good at all, I'll be honest. And then there wasn't a lot of drive from the midfield. Harness didn't get on the ball as much. We only had sort of one outlay from the back, which again was Radinho Bolka. And, you know, the likes of Ballinumber just didn't really create anything. And that's been the massive point with Town. If we don't score and we don't create, then we end up conceding a pretty sloppy goal. And that's what it was. It was, again, come from a corner, lifted into the back post, and it's a bit of a scramble. And then the fact is, we've got 11 men defending a corner. Like, I don't understand this setup from corners. I've always thought you need to leave at least one man up to sort of like get the ball if it is cleared, to be able to hold up the ball, and then start your counter attack. But we have all 11 men in the box, and it's just mystifying. I don't really understand why. And then you know, for the goal to happen like it has, when it comes to the edge of the area, it's a centre back, by the way, that's brought the ball down and absolutely smashed it into Harness, and it's deflected off him and sent Nichols the wrong way. It's just a really poor goal to concede, to be honest. And we got our just desserts, really.
As you touched on as well, obviously off the back of playing Wigan last week, you were in that bottom four. Next week it's a lunchtime kickoff against Rotherham, and actually looking slightly further ahead as well. The week after, you're away to Port Vale.
Well, these 3 games were massive, really, because after that we've got some tough tests against, you know, the likes of Cardiff and, dare I say, Lincoln, where, you know, they play effective football, if not good football. But I think, you know, they are tougher sides at the top of the table, where, you know, Rotherham and Port Vale, I mean, we've seen this season how bad they are, particularly Port Vale. I know it's under a different manager, but there's a reason why they're bottom. Rotherham are absolutely terrible, and I don't really understand why Hamshaw's still there, to be absolutely honest. How he's not been sacked, I don't know. So yeah, it's a massive game for Manny. If Town want to make the playoffs, we've got to get 6 points. But I am confident that we're going to get 6 points out of the next 2 games. I really am. And the lads talked about it yesterday. I couldn't be on the Town Talk show, but I have watched it back, and with Callan and Kane, and they were saying it was, you know, it's very much like it has been for the last couple of seasons. The big thing at Town is the culture, and the culture's all wrong. You know, it's not striving to succeed. It's buying expensive players that are then not performing to the standards that everybody expects of them, or they have done previously at other clubs.
Just going to bring the table back up, because I guess one of the concerning things for you guys at Town will be the fact that, you know, it's that game in hand that other sides, in particular Reading, Wickham, have got on you. Obviously, Stevenage with 2 games in hand. It kind of obviously it's one of those. If everybody wins 3 games, then you would be at the playoffs. But it doesn't quite work like that. I appreciate, but in the short term, it's not a great position to be in, I suppose, having that extra game played. Reading, though, their games are fairly tricky. They've got 2 away games, for example, at Luton and Mansfield. So it's going to be a hell of a battle, I think, for a lot of sides, to be fair, that want to make that those I was going to say final couple of playoff spots, but maybe Stockport might do enough to hold it off.
I think, you know, for me, the ones to really watch are Wickham. You know, they keep pulling results out of absolutely mad places. I mean, Stevenage have been there, haven't they, most of the season, to be fair to them. They've slipped off slightly. They have got one of the best home records in the league. And then, you know, Reading are pulling results out like we've seen it with Bradford City at the weekend. So,
just to touch on Steve, Wickham, they've got a game. I think their game in hand is tomorrow night away at Barnsley.
Yeah. Well, hopefully my other half's team will perform really well in that game. But yeah, if you look at the 4 sides there, you know, from Town, Reading, Stevenage, and Wickham, you'd say Town are in the worst sort of form, really, to be honest, and don't really have anything to hang on. You know, we're not bad at home, but I wouldn't say we're superior, and we're definitely not that great away, to be honest. It's a bit worrying.
Have you seen this as well? Just in terms of the ones who, for me, have been a real outside bet because they've come up from absolutely nowhere, is Plymouth. Listen to this run of games that Plymouth have got, which pretty much determines where they could finish. So in the next 5 or 6 games, they've got Donny, Wigan, and then after that, they've got Reading, Stevenage, Huddersfield, Bradford, Bolton, Barnsley. They literally could sneak into that last spot by beating the teams above them as well. Or, I mean, they could absolutely car crash, but that could make or break a lot of team seasons.
It's a little bit. I don't. Ian Gaz talked about a couple of weeks or so ago. We were looking at Bolton's running at the end of the season, but I think it's for them. It's like the last 5 games of the season were all against sides that are either above them or around them in the playoffs.
I don't see Plymouth getting in the playoffs, to be fair. I mean, I know what you're saying, Lou. I don't think they've been competitive enough in against those sides that you mentioned. From what I understand.
I mean, look at the Cardiff game, though. Nobody expected them to turn Cardiff over by scoring 5 goals. So I think the problem for Plymouth has just been consistency, because obviously they started the season terribly. Fair play, I think, to the Plymouth bloke for sticking with Cleverly, because they actually allowed him to have that time and to work the way up the table. And it don't get me wrong, I think it's. I think, as Lou, to be fair, caveated that at the start, they are the outside shot. But if they do get the results against what would be the easier games in the next couple, and can then back it up with the games against those around them, I think it's certainly too early to write them off just yet. But it's going to be a real battle. I mean, Gaz, what do you make of the kind of the playoff shake-up at the moment and the way, well, for many ways, frankly, it could go? I mean, any concern from a City persuasion, actually, that sides might pick up more points than City and pull you out of it? Or are you still confident that you'll be in that top those playoff places?
You know me, Chris. I'm always concerned and Mr. Negative most of the time. I was, like I said, when I was watching the scores on Saturday and looking at the table, I was feeling pretty comfortable for the first time in a long time. But you have to be, don't you? If you're going to be 13 points clear of 7th, well, it wouldn't have been because Stevenage would have been above them, but 13 points clear of Reading was making me feel very good. But that collapse at the end, the way we did it, shows you how fragile we can be, how fragile any team can be. Plymouth are the team, like, they've come from nowhere, really. They had a horrendous start to the season, and suddenly they're one of the form teams in the league. I'm not going to say the form team because I know Lincoln are the form team in the league, Chris, but they're one of the form teams in the league, and they've definitely got the players in that squad to make a late challenge if they can win the games that they've got coming up. I think that I wouldn't say anybody is safe in that playoff picture, apart from maybe Bolton. Just have that little gap. But then again, they've played a game more than everybody else. They're on the same games as Huddersfield. So they might be looking at it thinking that they're not quite in there yet. They did have a great result at the weekend, mind you, when they won 4-1 at Exeter.
Yeah.
I don't see you falling out of the playoffs, Gav, if I'm honest. I think it's Town and the 4 below.
We've got to use that away performance that we put in on Saturday and play like that away from home in every away game till the end of the season. We can't afford to regress to how we've played previously away from home. We've got to use that as a blueprint, like I said before, and just not chuck it away in time added on.
Just going to bring up this comment from 72 Cheesy, who is a Huddersfield Town fan. He says he's got 2 chances, some chance, and no chance at the playoffs. I mean...
Well, all we do know about the table is that the top 2 is done. That's what we do now.
Don't reel me in.
Yes, we do. Move on. Come on, Chris. Don't hide. It's happened.
Congratulations on your promotion, Chris.
Shut your face. Shut your absolute face. There's a long way to go, and we have to go to Cardiff on Saturday.
It'd been mental if you ended up in the playoffs and lost again. Been mental.
I think
you bottled your won it.
Mathematically, we need to take something like 8 wins in the next 12 is what we would need to be for it to be confirmed, and long way to go yet. This comment from Ian. He says, only concern with City is the lack of goals, very rarely killing teams off, Gaz.
Yeah, that was a bit of a concern on Saturday. A few people mentioned that. I didn't think personally that we had that many clear-cut chances, but there were people were saying we had enough chances to be more than one up before it got to time added on. There is a little bit of a concern that none of the strikers look that prolific. We've got options there up front now, but Stephen Humphries doesn't look like a striker. Ethan Wheatley's missed a few chances, although I have been impressed with his all-round game. Caden Jackson looks like he's going to be out for a few weeks with a nasty-looking knee injury. I don't know if any of you lads saw it, but in the game against Rotherham, he went up for a challenge, and the Rotherham player actually landed on his knee as they came down, and it didn't look great. Will Swan started the season really well, but has tailed off and also had his injury problems. The goal scorer that we have in the squad is obviously Paul Mullin, who came in January, but for me, and I don't know what other people think, but for me, and I said it when we signed him, he doesn't look like he fits our style of play at all. We need a centre forward who can either press like crazy or hold the ball up, and he doesn't look like he does either. The Wrexham fans said when we signed him that he needs to play with a partner, and he does look, for me, what I've seen of him so far, that looks to be correct, and we don't play with two up top, so there is a bit of a concern. Goals, Graham Alexander has said throughout the season that goals could come from throughout the team. But yeah, I get what Ian's saying. There is a little bit of a concern that we could be short of goals up there.
Has Mullin had many chances in the games he's played so far?
I think he's only started 2 games. The rest of the time he's come off the bench. Yeah, like I said, he hasn't had that many chances in front of goal, but I think that is mainly because he doesn't seem to fit in with how we play. He doesn't press and he doesn't hold the ball up. So when he's up there and we're trying to break quickly or hit the front man and get forward from there, he's not the person that sort of allows us to get the ball into the top half of the pitch and hold the ball there for us to do that. So the game plan does kind of suffer when he's in the team, or has done so far.
I've never properly rated him, I'll be absolutely honest. I think he's done so well out of his career by being at Wrexham. It's unreal.
He needs a partner. I honestly think he needs a partner, and that's what Wrexham fans said when we signed him. He needs somebody to play off.
Yeah, to be fair to him, he might have done well at Wrexham, but he's also done well for Wrexham, like over 100 odd goals scored for them in his time there. Dave?
Also Mullin had Ollie Palmer played a lot with him at Wrexham.
Yeah.
Especially when they were like National League, League Two. So them two were kind of, well, Ollie Palmer was sort of more of a battering ram, but they played 2 up top. So he's probably can't play on his own. We've probably covered this during the season, but what are your thoughts on these 12:30 games? Because I mean, most recently we've had Luton versus Bradford, we've had Huddersfield down at Stevenage, and we're going to have them at Rotherham. Like, would you rather play early, get your business done early, and then sit back and see what happens at 3 p.m, or do you come from the other side where you're like, oh no, we've lost and we've got to watch what everyone else does now? Where are you at with it?
We'll hand over to Gaz for this.
Yeah, I think we'll hand to Gaz.
Right, okay.
I think for Gaz, it all depends whether it's home or away. Go on, Gaz.
Me and Downesley have very different opinions on this. I hate 12:30 because it's such a trek to get over there for 12:30, whether it be home or away. And I can't go for a beer before. Yeah. So I'd rather go with a normal routine, have a beer before, and then go to the game. It winds me up these 12:30. But I know Downesley feels differently.
I only feel differently from a point of view of, I don't think it's better for the atmosphere of the game. However, I quite like the fact that I can get home and watch the rest of the action, or if there's a 5:30 kickoff, I can get home and watch it and to be honest, like, get the disappointment out of the way early. Like, we're gonna go lose to Rotherham 2-0. I'd rather instead of wasting all Saturday to wait till 3 o'clock, just get it done at 12:30. Game's over by 2. I can move on.
I'd quite like it, to be fair, from the ability of being able to watch a game before you kind of at the game or whatever as well.
It comes in with these like you mentioned at the start. It's a little bit with the away games. They sometimes don't take travelling fans into account, do they? I know City had to go to City were away at Plymouth for an 12:30 earlier in the season. It's just like there was just no means of getting to Plymouth for 12:30 unless you went the day before. I think that's a problem that has obviously existed for fans in the Premier League for a while with these kickoff changes. But now we've got them in the Football League. It's affecting everybody as well.
And what doesn't help that is you have like train companies who specifically don't want football fans to travel on certain trains. You know what I mean? I think that makes it difficult as well for supporters.
I mean, it ain't just happening in the Football League. Because of Danger Zone that covers the National League, we played Eastleigh at home earlier in the season. It was a 5:30 kickoff. Now, Eastleigh's near Southampton.
Yeah.
For those that don't know.
I can fully sympathise with you there, Dave, as well, because Rochdale are there on a 5:30 kickoff as well on bloody DAZN. It's a pain in the arse. I mean, in fact, I think Truro Gateshead was a 5:30 kickoff the other day. Or the other weekend.
Yeah, it could have been. I know it was played recently. I couldn't just remember what time it kicked off.
I think it was they picked it as well. Their telly games on that's great. I mean, it's one of those. I guess Gateshead fans will be stopping over anyway. So in the grand scheme of things, maybe it doesn't change. But it also just seems to take the mickey a little bit. Let's move. I mean, do we get prediction? Let's get a prediction out of Downesy because we know that Gaz doesn't do predictions. I mean, Downesy, I feel like it's going to be a pretty pessimistic prediction anyway for your lads at the weekend.
Yeah, I'm going 2-0 Rotherham. It was City playing. It was City playing.
Orient at home.
We're at home to Orient on Saturday, and then we're away at Port Vale. That's our other game in hand on Tuesday, week tomorrow.
Just because Gaz doesn't do predictions, Bradford 3, Orient 1.
So we will now lose every time Downesy predicts City to win, we lose. He does it on purpose.
No, what?
It feels like it, Gaz.
Look at Gaz's face. He's honestly so angry right now.
Gaz is
he's got every right to be.
Yeah, even I feel like he might make the journey across just to punch you.
Yeah, but if he could damage these headsets, that would be great.
Downesy, has it changed since Liam Manning's come in and Lee Grant's gone? I'm opening that kind of worms. I'm going there.
No, that's a great question.
Let's do it.
Thank you, Dave.
So the style of football is very similar, if we're being honest. The system is near enough exactly the same.
What we expected.
It's nothing that I didn't think anybody expected. It's just the reason it's weird, Lou, is because like in the first couple of games, he had like the madness, didn't he, where he had like 10 men. There were certain things that happened in the Bradford City game and then the game afterwards. And even in the Blackpool 2-2 game when we came back. So, like, in the first 3 games, we were really attacking, really physical, really, like, pressing, in-your-face kind of football. And then he seems to have, like, just regressed every time in most of the matches. And, like, we don't press, we're not physical. We're not dominant on the ball. Like, we are dominant on the ball, but not in the areas where you want us to be. It's very sideways. It's very pedestrian. It's not quick. And I think that's what annoys fans. Like, why are you not doing what worked well for you in the first 3 games and just improving on that? Why did it take going down to 10 men to be like that? And I think that's the worry with fans, where it just is now going to slump into the rest of the season, and it's going to become nothingness, and we're going to end up 9th again.
But this is what I mean. I've been banging on about it for so long anyway, and keeping Grant. But this is why I keep on saying responsibility also lies with the players, doesn't it?
It's a culture. It's
what you said earlier about the culture, but also the players have got an opportunity to prove themselves, which is what we've done for 2-3 games, and then they may have gone into habits or what. It might be a different combination of factors, but at the end of the day, outside looking in and seeing the highlights in games, being on it, I haven't seen the games, so I can't really properly give a full account of it, but it just seems like for like. Not much different.
The one thing I would say about Manning is he's not an FA coach, so he's not robotic on the sideline. I mean, Lee Grant by the end was stood with his arms folded, not doing anything, where Liam Manning does. You can tell he has managed over 200 games. I think the difference is as well, we have seen Manning change the system in games. So we've seen him go to a 3-4-3 or a 4-2-3-1, which has worked in games. But it's this banging your head against the wall. Why are we starting with 3 at the back? And kind of the 3 at the back don't play the ball quick enough. So you've got Murray Wallace and you've got Josh Feeney in the same team that don't move the ball quick. Jack Watmore's injured, and your only out ball is Radinho Bolker, and you're playing him on the left-hand side, so that immediately cuts off 2/3 of your angles because he can't play it on the right because he's on the left, and he can't really go down the middle because he's the man with the pace that needs to stay at the back to make any covering tackles. So the system doesn't really, it's not effective because then that then affects midfield where you have Ledson sitting back, Harness doing whatever the hell he wants, but not really creating anything. And you've got say the three at the top on Saturday was Alfie May, Hardy, and Harness. Now you could say that is the perfect 3 in our squad that you've won, but the problem is that because the ball's so slow getting up to them, they can't really do anything with it. I mean, Hardy was trying to flick it over people's heads and do all sorts just to create something, but he can't do it all on his own. And then, you know what I mean? It's really frustrating. And we were saying a lot like the corners, like all season we've had 11 men back at corners. Why? What is the reason for that? When you're conceding goals with people in the box, like you've got all 11 men back, and they're leaving men back. They're like, obviously they've got a few players covering like back anyway, so they haven't got all 11 men in the box. I just don't get it. It's just it's so frustrating, Lou.
Yeah, no, yeah.
The corner thing, I don't think is particularly unusual. I've seen a few sides that leave nobody up from corners. Lincoln do it, Rochdale do it.
I don't get why though. I don't understand what that.
Point. All I'm saying is it's you're not the you're not the only one.
No, I know we're not the only ones.
Now to make sure you defend your corners first and foremost with bodies rather than leave bodies up and try and draw a defender or two out.
What I would say, Lou, is in response to your question, it's interesting now, in it, because you've had new players this season, you've had 2 managers, and you've realistically had 2 now directors of football in the last 12 to 18 months. So what is the common denominator? What is the problem? Because it can't all be wrong, can it? There must be parts that must work because it's a functioning football club. So if it's a brand new squad, near enough, if you've had 2 managers, one without football experience, but now one who's managed over 250 games at Football League level and has played the game, and then you've got a director of football who was not very good in Mr. Cartwright, you go into the summer without a director of football and you just let Lee Grant spend what he wants. But then you get a director of football in Chris Markham, who has experience at Bolton Wanderers and he's very well respected at the FA and at different Football League levels. There's something else wrong then, isn't there? It must be the people at the top. It has to be the people at the top.
I mean, when you talk about it and you think about it, it's crazy, isn't it? It's just crazy. That
I mean, we must have gone through
built on different strategies and different plans. I mean, we spoke about it before, haven't we? But I just think you know my thoughts on it. I think it was. I understood why you went. I don't think it was the right decision. I think you're getting rid of a manager and then getting a new one in pretty much when you can't sign anybody. So his hands are tied already because he can't go out and get his own players in. And those players might be better in a system at the moment that he might not want to play. We don't know, but yeah, I think it's a really odd one. And I just outside looking in, you're hanging on to the playoffs. You've got a squad that is more than good enough to get in the playoffs and challenge at the top. And you're going to get inconsistencies because this is what we've said, haven't we, from day one? You've got so many different factors that are coming into it, like you've explained there really well. There's just different pieces and different jigsaws trying to be put together, and they don't fit together, do they?
What I would say, Lou, is quite clear. If you'd have had Michael Duff with his squad under this director of football, this football club will not be 6th in the division and playing in the inconsistency that it is now. It just wouldn't.
Well, I mean, you're preaching to the converted. I wouldn't have got rid of Duff in the first place, but you know what? There's been a lot of everything, haven't we?
But you wouldn't have got rid of Grant either, and I don't think we could have gone. He should have gone after the Wigan game, but in mid-December, but he didn't. They let him have another month. There's no way Lee Grant could have been manager of this football club at the end of the season. Not a chance.
And like I say, I'm not fully informed or educated on that perspective, so I've not seen a lot of performances like you guys have. So I take your opinion better than mine, but I also, I don't know. I just think you've got to give somebody a bit more time. Like if Manning doesn't get you in the playoffs now, does he go at the end of the season?
No.
Then when are you for next season? The next season is exactly the same cycle as what you've begun this season. That's the problem. You've got no continuity whatsoever.
I agree with that. Yeah, and I get that. The difference is, Lou, though, Lee Grant didn't manage a senior football game before being put in charge of this football club. Liam Manning has. And we have seen him.
I don't think it makes a difference at the moment, if I'm being honest.
This is the thing with Town, though, because we said at the time that Liam Manning was appointed that if Town, for example, didn't make the playoffs this season and you're sitting somewhere between 5th and 8th in November of next season, there's going to be calls for Manning to go because it won't be good enough, and you're just stuck in this never-ending cycle, and where it doesn't seem to matter whether you employ a man that's managed 350 odd games in championship level or a bloody plumber. Like, it doesn't seem to make a difference with Town who's in charge of the team. This cycle continues.
But all I'm going through is what Gaz has been through in the last 10 years, and we spoke about that before. So all I'm feeling is what Gaz felt like in League Two. To be absolutely honest.
You tried to make that point a couple of weeks ago, and then I kind of converted Gaz's view on it slightly, because it's not like what City went through, because when City were at their worst, they were barely staring down the barrel of the National League football, or at best finishing 15th. No. I'm not talking about expectations. I'm talking about style of football and different managers. I'm not talking about expectations or anything like that. I'm talking about purely putting 11 men on the pitch and doing a system and a formation. And how they actually play the game. How well that works. And like for Town, that would be a top 8 position. Whereas for City, for years, manager after manager, it was lower mid-table sort of thing. It was worse at City than it is at Town.
Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter because he'll play 3 at the back at Rotherham. We'll lose 2-0 and we'll be out of the playoffs.
Ian's put a question here. Like, are Kevin Nagel's expectations weighing heavy?
Kevin Nagel's expectations are at this moment in time not being performed to. He said 2 seasons ago when we got relegated, it had to be top 2 or nothing. Well, last season we finished 9th, and this season, at the moment, we're holding. We might finish lower than 9th, but at the moment we're 6th and hanging on by a thread. 3 weeks ago, if you look at the points gap, I think it was maybe 5-6 points to 7th place. It's now 1.
I also don't think it's Nagel's expectations potentially whenever. I think it's some of the fans.
Yeah.
But the players,
it feeds off each other because the fans and Nagel's expectations bounce off each other. What I wanted to say was Dowsy spoke about the intensity and the press and the, well, for want of a better word, the effort for the first few games. I think any team gets that when a new manager goes in. He gets the fire in the belly, and it's how long that lasts and if you can keep it going. And when it does stop, like Downs is saying it stopped, then you need to find out why it stopped. Is it coming from the manager? Is it coming from the players? Why has that fire in the belly only lasted for a 2 or 3 game new manager bounce?
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Right, guys.
Time will tell. Let's turn our attention then to non-league. We'll bring Dave Foy in to start with the side top of our non-league pyramid in our region. That's FC Halifax Town. And Dave, you just can't seem to get away from draws at the moment. It's another 2-2 draw for the Shaman after the midweek game against Rochdale, this time against a stubborn Sutton United side that are at the opposite end of the table.
A stubborn Sutton side that if they had another 5 or 10 minutes at the end of that game would have won that game. Really. I've come to terms with the fact that we're going to finish anywhere between 8th and 20th now, and I don't have a problem with that at all. We've had our chance this month. We've only won one game, and that was late on versus Truro. We've surrendered a 2-0 lead at Aldershot and lost 3-2. We scored an 87th minute penalty at Brackley and drew. We lost to Gateshead, who had lost 16 games in a row coming into that. They haven't beaten us for 25 years, and they won 2-1. 3 games there where we should have another 6 or 7 points. I don't know if we've got a table just to hand, because I sort of agreed to come on last minute. So, I mean, I can describe our table. It'd just be easier if there was a table. But I'm quite happy.
And I haven't been able to print screen it because of technological issues.
Yeah, it's fine.
If else wants to just print screen a table from somewhere and drop it into the media, that'd be great, yeah?
We had one last week, didn't we? Which is it's a shame because it was shame Dave were on last week because we had quite a few Town fans in the Halifax fans in the comments last week, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
We obviously haven't covered the 4. We lost 4-1 at York last weekend, and we didn't expect anything from it. To be honest, we're a point inside the playoffs. We're in 7th, which is the last playoff place. We're a point clear of Southend United, who, as it stands, have 5 games in hand on us. They're going to have to, and Southend are going to have to rearrange another weekend game because they've made the FA Trophy semi-final also.
Yeah. So 3-race Hartlepool game, I think it is.
Yeah. And, if we'd have got that extra 6-7 points from those 3 games I mentioned before, we'd give Southend a bit of a task, but 1 point with 5 games in hand, they're gonna at the very least draw one of those games. We've just got to hope that I don't know, they'd have to squeeze in that many games between now and the end of the season that they maybe have a few hiccups. Teams above us are on terrible form. Boreham Wood, Forest Green, Carlisle are sort of having stop-start second halves to the season, but they all started the first half of the season that well. They've got that cushion to be inconsistent.
Scunthorpe, for example, haven't won in 6.
Yeah, but they've still 5th, 4th?
Yeah, still sitting, I think 6th. Yeah, 6th now. Forest Green won at the weekend to overtake them.
So, yeah, they're you know what I mean? There's only really 7th place to go for now. Had we have won those games or got a few more points out of it, we'd have been breathing right down 6th and 5th next. But because we haven't, like I said, we're a point inside the playoffs, and Southend, who are behind us, have got 5 games in hand. There's a few clubs that have got 1 game, 2 game in hand behind them. Hartlepool are one of them. We're going there at the weekend, and I am just resigned to the fact we'll finish anywhere. Like I said, anywhere between 8th and 20th, and I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. We've had to completely rebuild this season. We've covered it on this show before. You even covered it when I'm not on. We lost Chris Millington. We lost 4 or 5 of us players, as we do every year, and we've had to build a team from that. A lot of them have followed Adam Lakeland from Kings Lynn, from the league below. So, I'd have took this right now at the beginning of the season. I'd have took 7th, a point inside the playoffs, albeit we're so far in front of Southend. I would have took that. We had another underwhelming FA Cup. I remember I come on pre-season and I said I'd happily take just mid-table if we have a good FA Cup run, because we haven't had one for that long. And yeah, I can't really complain. We've got over that 50-point mark. We're certainly not going to get relegated. Don't get me wrong, if we finish the season, we finish 20th, I'll be on here and there'll be words had, but we've had a good season. We went out of the FA Trophy in a slightly disappointing manner. Before that, we put 2 teams to the sword 4-0. We've got a striker that's got over 20 goals this season. He's got 17 in 26 in the league. I'm going to break down the Sutton game now. And whatever my critique of Will Harris is, at the end of the day, he's got 23 goals this season. Whatever I think of his performance on Saturday, he's over 20 goals for a striker. There was one where we went to 1-1. It was an excellent Cody Johnson finish to draw us level. We conceded early in that game. We started slow again, deservedly behind. We kind of come into it. We did something that I've never, ever seen us do. On the half-hour mark, Sam Johnson had an injury in inverted commas, and we had a bit of a shuffle round. And that's really out of character for Sam Johnson and Adam Lakeland. Like, it's just not something he does. But it worked for us. We got back into the game, who equalised. It was a great goal. And it was Cody Johnson again. He hit the post, and it was one of those where it was like, did it go over the line? Didn't it go over the line? It hit the post and was spinning. Will Harris come in on a rebound, and he should have just, in my opinion, should have just absolutely buried it. And he seemed to like side foot it and give the goalie an opportunity to save it. It just seemed easier to score. And we went in at 1-1 at half time, and then Sutton did that thing that all teams do now at our level, and I'm sure above, where they play the ball back to the goalie, he gives it to the right back back's put under pressure, so he gives it to the goalie again, and then he goes out the other side to his left back. It's fucking boring. Caught him out. But Will Harris sort of snatched at his chance and put it just wide. So, we didn't get any just rewards for that. He scored a good goal, little glanced header off the post. Again, it was spinning, and it just about crept in, thankfully, this time. But then we went 2-1 up, and it was like we made a few substitutions and stuff like that. But we just surrendered from that point. We went 2-1 up, and it was just like we were just almost, I don't know, we just dropped a gear, and Sutton scored a mix-up between defenders, and it was put in. And as I said at the beginning of my thing, the game had gone another 5 or 10 minutes, we'd have probably lost that game. We've really struggled against the bottom teams this year. We lost down at Truro. Gateshead beat us at home. Sutton were struggling when we played them away, and they beat us 2-0. We missed a penalty. Surprise, surprise for this season. I'm not going to get into our penalty record this year. We only just beat Morecambe home and away. We've really struggled against those kind of teams, yet Rochdale and York, that are beyond everybody, we've only lost 1 of our 4 games against them. We've won 1, we drew 3, and we lost 1. So, we drew at Scunthorpe. We've had a sort of mixed bag of results, but yeah, we just are where we are. If we'd have got a few more points out of those 3 games I identified, I'd have said the playoffs is still a hunt we can do. But now, it just anywhere really. Like, yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Hopefully, Will Harris continues to score. We'll lose him at the end of the season. Any player that breaks double figures, you only have to get over 10 and you're gone. Him and Josh Amami will leave at the end of the season, along with probably a couple of others, and we'll bring in, we'll assemble another team, and we'll probably just be in and around the top 10 again. We've leaked a lot more goals this season. We've conceded 74 in all competitions. No, sorry, we scored 73, and I think we've conceded 64. In terms of like goal difference in the league, we're only on like a +3. It's something like, I don't know what we scored. It's like 52. I think we've conceded 59, something like that. And we've always been really good at the back. Whereas this season, I think we've got 11 clean sheets, and we tend to finish seasons on nearly 20. But we miss Will Smith at the back. Will Smith's injured again, and we really, really miss him. Sean Hobson's pretty good. Jevon Milnes has currently got the position next to him. It's been AAA, Adam Aid Toro in the past couple of weeks, and they've both not been as solid as Hobson. AJ Warburton's having a great second half to his season. Tommy Lavery's played 2 games at right back now, with that position almost being freed up. So it's nice to see him doing well. He's on loan from Sunderland until the end of the season. We've had him a while, and he's not really been able to play because AJ Warburton's been in such good form. Thierry Fairweather got injured out on the left side, so we've had to move Warburton out to that side, which meant Lavery could play. But yeah, I'm sort of happy with where we're at, and I've accepted the fact we probably won't make the top 7, and I don't really have a problem with that. I think we've had a good year, all in all, to be honest.
I think you mentioned Warburton in particular and Lavery. I thought they were excellent preparing the game against Rochdale last week, and again, the Rage as well, both are 20 years old. I think they've got very bright futures ahead of them. In terms of the fixtures, I say you kind of struggled against some of the lower sides in recent games. I guess when you look at the fixtures that are coming up, the fact that you're running for the rest of March sees mostly sides above or around you, that might be take a few more points. Hartlepool away on Saturday, followed by Bournemouth at home, Solihull Moors away, Halifax, Carlisle at home on the 24th,
Carlisle at home,
in the month at home to Scunthorpe. So, you know, if there is a way for Town to get themselves back on some form, bizarrely, it sounds to say it out loud, but it might be the fact that it's the sides around you that are the ones you can get the points in if you've been struggling against the ones at the bottom end.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, one thing Adam Lakeland spoke of is since January, we've sort of had Tuesday, Saturday, and we're starting to get to a period now where I think we only have one or two midweek games. to end the season. So we're only playing on a Saturday, and the Saturday, so we're saying it obviously gives us a bit more of a chance to the players to rest, and we don't have such a hectic schedule, things like that. So, but yeah, like you said, they are teams in and around us, but I just feel that they're however many points in front of us, so we can have a say in how the top 7 finish. Albeit, I don't think we're going to be in there ourselves. I think Southend are going to win up. Out of any of them, I mean, there's a few that have got 1 and 2 games in hand on us. I think Hartlepool do. I haven't just quite looked at the table enough to be able to say confidently, but we're gonna decide how the top 7 finish and not finishing it ourselves. So the one thing is our last home game of the season, Southend at home. But I think by that point they'll have caught up in games and we'll be 7 or 8 points behind them, and it probably won't matter. You know, Carlisle and Boreham Wood, like I said, they're hitting patchy form now, but it doesn't matter. They've got until April, May to sort themselves out and then go for promotion, because they've already done enough. They're going to have to go on some really honking form to fall out of the top 7 places. It's all the only position, in my opinion, to play for is 7th, and there's 3 or 4 clubs in it. Aldershot, actually. Aldershot, if they've really turned it around under John Coleman. They obviously beat us and we were 2-0 up. They're a bit like Plymouth. We've just covered Plymouth in League One. Aldershot are like the Plymouth of our league. Like, they could have a say in it, but it might be a little bit too little, too late for them. And yeah, I just feel we haven't collected enough points while Southend have been gathering these games in hand. They have to win them, but it's only a point, and they've got 5 games in hand. They're gonna win at least 1 game. They've got a better goal difference than us, and it's not in our hands anymore. And you know, once it's out of your own hands, it's so much harder.
I want to touch on off the pitch just before we kind of move on from playbacks, because I was talking to quite a few fans, to be fair, on Tuesday night when I was there for the Rochdale game, and we're chatting to a couple of people from the media side as well. And there seems to be a bit of a strange feeling around the club from the outside at the moment. You know, you look at that Gateshead game in particular, 870 was the attendance for that one. You know, I was talking to a friend of the show, Tom Scargill, and we were talking about the fact that, you know, 12 months ago, the same corresponding fixture, give or take, would have been around the 1,800 to 2,000 sort of mark, attendance-wise. It was such a big drop-off. Obviously, I've just looked at the attendance for the Sutton game at the weekend. I think it was 1,200 or just over 1,200.
Yeah.
It just seemed to be a pretty drastic drop in attendances at the moment at the Shea compared to a lot of the sides, a lot of other sides at the National League level.
We were wanting to wrap this show up, weren't we? So
we were. We can try and make it brief.
I'll try and make it as brief as possible. Okay, so the situation with the ground is still up in the air. That won't help. I can't really say any more on that. The ground's up in the air, so the ground's up in the air. We don't know what's happening with the club that we share the ground with. There's little whisperings that they may even be back this Sunday. I'm not going to get sidetracked by that. Nothing official's been said. It's just been this sort of perfect storm of just. We spoke about it in pre-season, and we're I don't know what word to use here. We're quite a, like I said, I just don't know what word to use other than peculiar. We're quite a peculiar club off the pitch. What we do, and people seem to forget this, is I guess it isn't as black and white as this, but would you rather have a successful team on the pitch that's always pushing for promotion, inverted commas, or would you rather it be, I don't know, let's say you get 2,500, 3,000 every week, and there's a bit more of you feel a bit more involved and it's a bit more fan-owned and stuff, but you're 16th in National League North, a bit like Darlington or Hereford or whatever, and you're just in that league, just existing. I think getting it right on the field is more important than doing it right off the field. I know it shouldn't really be as black and white as that. You should be able to do both at the same time, but we're just not.
I feel like I know where you're coming from. Again, just because we're kind of basing what a few people that I've spoken to have said, and just little things like we've talked about this before, the lack of kind of communication, shall we say, from the ownership structure at the club. The fact that, if I'm right in thinking, if we go back to the summer, season tickets weren't on sale until pretty much the day before the first game of the season. Match day prices apparently was something that people raised to me as well. And look, I can verify from somebody that I know that I spoke to them and said, "Oh, you're going to the Rochdale game tonight?" And they basically said, because they don't have a season ticket, they're like, I can't justify the cost of the match day ticket at the moment because things are, the cost of living is what it is. That's just a handful of things, as well as everything with the uncertainty of the actual ground and the ownership and all that sort of thing as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, I could have gone into the season ticket situation. What we do is it's 24 quid for an adult to get in, which is about, I think it's about average, maybe slightly above average for this level. People can accept that. Where our supporters, again, it's a balancing act. Where our supporters fall out with our club is we don't do early bird season tickets. Like they're saying, why aren't we even getting them out now? Why aren't we hearing whisperings about them now? Make it a certain price before a certain date. Or if it's going to be, I think what our season ticket were this year, I think it was maybe about £350. They're saying other clubs, you could have even announced that early and put a payment plan in place, pay it over 3 months. It's the fact that they just dropped it on the supporters 2 weeks before the season kicked off. They had to pay it in full and stuff. And they're like, look at all these clubs around us that are doing, in installments, or everybody's just running a more professional manner than us. I joke on our forum. I say we're always about 15, 20 years behind every other club we play against. Now, in the past...
The away end is cash only.
Yeah, well, the home end is, we don't take card. Yeah, well, we do, but you have to go to the reception, and it's a bit... Again, it would just...
There was no pay in advance, and no. For the away, I know for Rochdale fans that, I think it was just under 1,400, but it was all cash on the turnstiles. That's it. And I'd have to say for home fans, if that's the case as well.
Yeah, I bet we're the only club in the National League that's like that.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, we don't have online ticketing. We don't have any of that. It's just, we're, like I said, we're always about 15, 20 years behind. We have been since we formed over 100 years ago. Yes, we've reformed, whatever. We've always been 20 years behind everyone else. Usually it's because it was poor us at the bottom of the 4th division, like paupers, and just couldn't afford it. But we've always just been behind. Like when there was colour telly, we'd still had black and white telly. When emails come in, we'd still be sending fucking telegrams or pigeons. You know what I mean? We've just always been that way. And it used to be something that galvanised supporters because they felt a bit more involved and it was our club and blah, 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 blah. But then on the other end, you were more involved in the 80s, yet they're coming round rattling buckets to save the club. I don't think we've ever had to do that once since we reformed, other than the COVID year. They kind of asked for this, sort of like for fans to donate, and I think 50 grand went in. I think they raised 50 grand as supporters, but other than that, we haven't had that constant fear of going under. I mean, we eventually went under, and I'm not getting into that because that'd take up another 2 or 3 hours of the show. But yeah, we've always just seemed to be behind everyone else. And I think the big wake-up call is we got Pontefract Collieries in the FA Cup in 2021. We got them in the 4th qualifying round. You could buy a ticket online, you could pay on card, and this is a team that's at Brighouse Town's level. I mean, they still are. There were 3 divisions below Halifax Town, and we're like, why can clubs at this level do this? Why can't we do this? What's going on? We don't make anything from the ground. We don't make any money from food or drink. It's all contracted out. The council officially for now still own the ground. There's just nothing. We're just not fan friendly, and we're reaping what we sow now. Like we're having, everybody was saying we got low crowds under Millington because we didn't score and we're boring and we did this and we did that. Yeah, we've got a team that's got a 20-goal striker now, midfielders into double figures, and the attendances are worse. We took more to York City than we got at home to Gateshead. We took 2,000 to Oldham. All right, it's in the playoffs. The support's there, but I just don't know. What we need. David Bosworth, I've said it numerous times on this show. Apparently, he's got health problems, or there's a health issue within his close immediate family. And nothing's ever been said. We would have just needed a quick statement to just say, I don't know, I need to step back from the club for a bit. There's other stuff. It's that communication. It's what you said, Chris. There's no communication out of the club. There's still boardroom notes put in the programme. And it's all hearsay and it's all rumour, but they intensify when there isn't any official word. They're saying his chairman notes or notes from the boardroom, whatever you want to dress it up as, just written by the skeleton staff we have at the club. I think there's 4 members of staff run Halifax Town. There's David Bosworth, there's Louisa, and we've got a secretary, Tony Allen, and that might even be it. I think our club runs off 3 people. There may be other people in the background, but they're the 3 prominent members behind the scenes that work at Halifax Town.
I mean, it's one of those, nothing would surprise me. I know a lot of. I was shocked to learn in the last few years that managers don't actually always write their own program notes.
No,
I always thought they did. Sorry, Gaz, go on, mate.
No, I was just going to say about what a few people were commenting last week about, like, not an apathy, but is there a frustration at Halifax, Dave, that there appears to be a ceiling because of what you're talking about? Like, were people coming in? We talked about it, didn't we, Chris, about the teams in the National League now, massive budgets, and Halifax just can't compete with that. Does it feel like you've got a ceiling that you just can't get through, and it's just rinse and repeat every single season? Yeah,
it's 7th, and that's it for now. So we've hit that 4 out of 6 seasons, something like that, and we've always been underwhelming in the playoffs. And this is what I was touching on before. Like, all these clubs are having these patchy forms, but they're already there. They've got months and months to sort it. 1 or 2 of them will probably loan somebody from Championship who's on fridges at first team in Championship, and they'll just.
That'll be Forest Green. Lose a game, sign 4 players. That's the mantra for 7th.
Do you know what I mean? They'll just get jacked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we even get there, we're going to limp into them. You know what I mean? The only saving grace this year, and I'm moving off topic, is when it comes to the end of the season, most of our players are under contract. We'd have to get a transfer fee for them. Some of them have got options that can be triggered, etc. So we're going to it this season, I think, a bit stronger than we did last season. Yeah. But it doesn't matter if 7th's the highest we can get and we just get dicked in the first playoff game for whatever reason, whether it's COVID and we haven't come back properly, or we were unlucky at Solihull, and we were, but we give them a 3-goal lead. We got absolutely destroyed at Oldham. We went into it with half the team out, playing like youth teamers or fringe players or whatever. We've just never had a right good go at them. The season that we got there and we finished 4th, we lost to Chesterfield, who were like, "You'll beat us in this," because Pete Wild were off to Barrow and half the team knew what they were doing. They weren't bothered. They'd put themselves in shop window. I've said it on the again, we're just ping-ponging around just all topics with the club. I've said in our forum, it's like the players do enough to prove that the Football League quality without actually taking us there. They personally get there. Adam Senior's playing really well at Barnet. Kean Spence is at Rotherham. That's just 2 people off the top of my head. They get there as individuals. They don't get there as a team. It's been injuries, and we've been a bit unlucky last couple of seasons. The one season we'd have done well in the playoffs were Millington's first year. We had a catastrophic start and we finished the season really well. If we'd have just started our good form a month or so earlier, we'd have got into top 7, and I think we'd have sprung a surprise on the team. We beat Wrexham, who, if they'd have won that day, they'd have won the league. And we didn't just beat them when we were lucky. We beat them because we were better. Do you know what I mean? We went into it, we won easy at York. We went into it in great form, and we finished about 9 points outside the playoffs. If we'd have got in, I'm not saying we'd have won them, but I don't think we'd have gone out in that first stage. I think we'd have got through to a semi-final away from home again, but I think we're just with Pete, guys, with what we've got now. And you know, some supporters argue that the begging ball's not out. This is just where we are. Football's changed, but teams change with football. We've seen every 4th division struggler, other than a couple that have come down. Tranmere, Carlisle have come down again. A lot of clubs that were always down bottom at 4th division come down but go straight back up, or they go up within a few seasons. Rochdale will go up at some point. They'll go up this season even. York will go up. It's either going to be York or Rochdale. They're both teams that we've played a lot over our 100-year history. Yeah. They all get back. They find a way. They're just with the times. The teams that exist in 2026. Our social media side, I don't think it's particularly bad for our level. You know what I mean? We're still covered by Tom Scargill in the Halifax Courier. I mean, the Examiner, I don't think, have a dedicated reporter for Huddersfield. They're in League One. Do you know what I mean? Like, we do have the media outlets are there, but there's only there's only so much supporters can do. You know, it's always like, well, if you've got an idea, or you know, if you don't like David Bosworth, why don't you take over? And it's like, what a stupid thing to say. Like, I was a supporter just gonna take over. You know, there was a multi-millionaire from Halifax 20 years ago. He owned the There's a big shopping centre down south, and it's like the Blue Lake Shopping Centre or something like that.
Blue Water.
Blue Water. He's a Haligonian. Do you know what he did with his money? He put it into Aldershot Town, and they got to the Football League. People from Halifax that have money don't care about the club. It's a bit like there were rumours that Ken Morrison were like, why don't you put money into Bradford City? And he just went, I'm not interested in football. You know, whatever it were 10, 15 years ago, he was like, I'm not bothered. I'm not interested in football. It doesn't interest me.
That's where Rochdale struck very, very lucky, actually. Is the Ogden family that now own the club. Have no sporting background, but are from Rochdale and are thankfully extremely wealthy enough to be able to buy a football club that we don't have too much knowledge or interest in as a sport. But yeah, we're dealing with clubs that can easily pull in 7,000 or 8,000 without really trying. Southend, Carlisle got nearly 11,000 this season. I think they made a game, something like 5 or 10 quid to get in. You know what I mean? We're competing with teams like that, and then you've got Forest Green that are like jacked. Why? I don't know. I really, really don't know. Like there's already 3 teams in Gloucestershire or the local area that are bigger than Forest Green, Cheltenham, both Bristols. Like what? Look, yeah, let's not get into basically saying why do Forest Green exist. But do you know what I mean? Well,
he's already getting back up to championships.
I think is why do Forest Green exist.
Delve in.
Yeah.
We will, I'm sure, come back to Halifax Town over the course of the remainder of the season in terms of the bigger stories as and when things turn out. Let's turn our attention then to the next step in our non.
Has he gone?
I don't know. I don't know who's going to mention. Possibly Geisley.
Back, yeah. I was going to mention Geisley. The fact that they didn't have a game at the weekend. They were due to be at Thorps, and that game was postponed. Lou, do you want to run us through the rest of the non-league action?
Just say that Brighouse lost. You don't have to say the score. Just say they lost at Leaders Redcar. Just before we get into it.
Okay, so in the MPL East, Brighouse just lost to league leaders Redcar Athletic. At the moment, one of the teams that are flying the flag for our Shorts region, Emily, picked up their 6th win on the bounce, flying, peaking at the right time, doing really, really well, really strengthening their team in recent weeks and challenging for that second spot with Matlock. I think Redcar are going to, 2 games in hand, scoring ridiculous amount of goals per game. They're going to break all records in that league. So Emily going really, really well, and beating teams in and around them. We only went to Matlock the other week and won 4-0, and they've won, they've gone and beaten likes of Ashington and stuff like that. So yeah, Emily are flying. In terms of other teams in the division as well, so Bradford Park Avenue won at Concert 2-0 at the weekend. An important victory for Avenue because Concert are kind of on the shoulder of us knocking on the door for that final playoff spot. So it was an important victory and to get back on track after what was a really poor performance against a really stubborn Silson side who have now won their 3rd game in a row, which is a really good effort for Matt Kavanagh's team. No problem at all. Don't worry about it. Just in that point, no problem. No worries at all. No, I've got to say, Silson were brilliant. They've been, they've got the wins that they've really needed. Speaking to likes of Cavan, the rest of the guys out at Silsden, they did exactly what was needed. Can't take anything away from Silsden whatsoever. Avenue probably played into their hands a lot by playing quite narrow. And didn't really stretch the game. I think tactically we're a little bit naive in changing the system, and Silson did exactly what we needed to do. So no hardship on that one. But then what's important is Silson have gone and backed it up. They've beaten Heaton Stannington at the weekend, which is a big result. Then after the Avenue game, they won 6-1 at Newton Aycliffe. So it's not just one win in potentially 3 or 4 games. They've got 9 points in a week, like Nick said there, which has really, really helped him. A massive shout out for Ponty as well in the division. So Ponty have just gone above Dunstan and doing really well. Last season were basically doing everything they possibly could to stay in this division, and now they're really, really knocking on the door of getting in the playoffs, which is a phenomenal turnaround. Listen, they've had they started the season away from home, which is never easy. Brand new pitch laid, which is artificial, but gets a lot of people down there, and we're able to kind of build on their complex down there. But also, as well as that, you know, they've got some really good, smart players to this level. One who's really stood out for me, and I don't want to get Dave on his still again, but Frankie Sinfield's had a wow of a season down there at Ponty. For me, he's probably too good at, with no disrespect to Ponty, but I think he's too good for the league on his day. Been phenomenal. And then they've just recently signed today. They've got back Elliot Walker, who's been at North Ferriby. Very, very astute, shrewd signing from Ponty. So they're going in the right direction. They signed Ethan Bojang to strengthen that midfield in a weekend. But not only that, you know, they've also got the likes of Ben Middleton back, who's been at a good level as well this season. So I think they'll be very, very close. But yeah, not too bad in terms of teams towards the lower end of that table. Obviously, we spoke about Brighouse, but we won't bring that too much because we don't want to, you know, kind of shock Dave any further. But also, you know, teams in and around that bottom, you know, there's a lot of North East teams, which
there is
actually not too bad from a Yorkshire perspective. Ossett, you know, got a bit of a cushion, but they've played a couple of games more. Silson have pulled away. So, you know, unfortunately, Brighouse are in that mix at the moment. And we've seen recently, you know, from what Danny Frost has come out in recent weeks about the money situation there again, which has proven a little bit of a problem, but the players are sticking there, and hopefully they can see out to the end of the season. They're giving themselves a fighting chance, but they just need to get some results on the board, like Blythe Spartans in recent weeks. Running in a bit of a run, and there's no reason why Brighouse can't either. So, listen, I think Blythe Town are pretty much down. I watched them the other week. They were brilliant against us. Bishop Auckland are fighting like anybody to get out of that league. We've got Martin Gray to be at Darlington. They've pretty much changed the whole team just to get them out of the situation. Newton Aycliffe are at Avenue at the weekend, and by all accounts have been struggling in recent weeks. So it's going to be a real shootout for that relegation spot in the MPL East. In the North East counties, to credit some of those guys. So at the moment, the team that are in form in the Premier Division is Campion. They're shooting up the level at the moment, up to third behind Liversidge. So Liversidge actually secured playoff spot for sure, but they're already, I think they're already 11 points ahead, which is remarkable, having played the same amount of games. So I think they'll definitely go up, probably as champions, which we called right at the beginning of the season. And that's credit to likes of Danny Forrest and the rest of the gang there, because they've got some good players, but they've had to do the job. Campion up there, like I mentioned, but then there's other teams who are struggling a bit in that North East counties, which is slightly disappointing in our region. Fackley, mid-table, but have done well considering they've had to basically put a squad together. And I know Jamie Price is going to be there next season as well. Golka 14th have had to rebuild and got a load of players that they sold come back to keep them out of trouble. But Albion Sports are really struggling at the wrong end of the table, and you know they're 1 point ahead of Rossington, but played 3 games more, so they find themselves in quite a bit of trouble. And then in Division 1, Wakefield are pushing Durnan District close, but I expect Durnan District to win that league again, one that we called right early in pre-season. But the teams knocking on the door for the playoffs in that division: Leeds, USCA, Route 1 Rovers up to 8th, and Thorpe 9th. So, you know, there's still a bit to play for in some of those divisions, but I think, like Dave said, even in the National League, there's a lot of teams who have played various amount of games with games still in hand and still catching up from some postponements that have been happening in the recent month or two. And recently also Steeton at the other side at Northwest, they went to the infamous Daisy Hill that have been made famous this season for various reasons. They lost 2-0, and I know the keeper got sent off in the last minute, so that was a bit disappointing for Steeton.
Dare I ask why they're famous, Lou? I've kind of missed that.
Angry Ginge.
Yeah.
Oh, is he involved for them? Right, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think one of it. I'm not cool, Dave, but I think some guy who's been a YouTuber or an influencer decided to take over Daisy Hill, and has made a bit of a docu-series, and it's kind of profiled them up and done reasonably well. To be fair, I think they've got Nicky Hunt was in charge or still is in charge. He's to be at Bolton in the Premier League, so they're going big. So that's why they've gone slightly famous.
No. Angry Ginge sponsors the stadium, doesn't he, as well? That was his main original.
Right, okay.
So, yeah, there we go.
For doing that and for running through the non-league stuff whilst my internet decided to throw a wobbly instead. We will leave it there. We say we want to wrap up after an hour. We've done an extra 20 minutes. We've done our extra time period. So we will call it there. Keep an eye out, Leeds fans. Jay and Brownie will have some content over the course of this week as well. Of course, the midweek game for them. So there'll be a match reaction. No surprise straight after that one. And I'll be looking ahead to the weekend as well. From myself, though, and from Gaz, from Lou, from Dave, and from Stephen Downes, who joined us earlier on, thank you for your comments over the course of the evening. I had quite a few from even someone from Michigan in the United States of America. So we thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you soon here on the West Yorkshire Football Show. Take care.